Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to improve our geometry skills. If you're preparing for SAT, GRE or GMAT, there are basic concepts of geometry that you need to know, and these videos will help you learn those concepts. Or if you've already learned them, perhaps brush up on those concepts. Today is our day number 2, second day. Yesterday we talked about the concept of pi. Let me quickly recapitulate. What we talked about yesterday. And for those of you who are interested in learning the word recapitulate, and when I say those of you, I actually mean all of you. There is no reason why you should not want to improve your vocabulary while you're learning some math. As I said before, yesterday in all of my other videos, I always say it does no harm to improve your vocabulary. If you want to learn the word recapitulate, just type in Keshwani Prep vocab 32 and you will learn this word recapitulate. Recapitulate means actually something that you already know. The reason why it may seem a little bit unfamiliar is because most people do not bother to say the entire word. Most people abbreviate the word. They just say recap. And of course recap means to summarize something. So let me quickly recap or recapitulate what we learned yesterday. Yesterday we talked about the concept of pi. What is pi? Pi is a ratio of circumference to diameter. Pi is a ratio of distance around the circle to distance across the circle. If you have a circle, if you travel around the circle, which is your circumference, and then you just travel across the circle, going through the center, which is your diameter, that ratio is called pi, and that is constant. That's just the way how nature created the universe. There are many constants in the universe. The speed of light is constant. There are many other constants that I cannot think of right now, but there are hundreds of them in the universe. And one of the constants in the universe is the ratio of distance around the circle to distance across the circle. If you draw a perfect circle, then it turns out that no matter how big or how small the circle is, as long as it's a perfect circle, then what you will find is that the distance around the circle is about 3 times the distance across the circle. And of course we all know that it is approximately 3.1418, and there are of course nerds and geeks out there who would actually calculate the pi all the way to the millionth digit. But presumably you have a life, so you won't do that. But that is pi. Pi simply is a constant like all the other constants of the universe. It's just the fact that if you draw a circle, as I'm repeating myself, if you draw a circle, then it turns out that if you were to walk around that circle, you'll end up walking about 3 times as much as opposed to walking across the circle. And that's your thing. And if you were to multiply both sides by d, by diameter, this diameter cancels out and c equals pi times d, and of course diameter is 2 times r. I'm doing it in a little bit faster way because we already did it yesterday, day 1. This is our day 2, I'm just recapitulating it. Pi times 2r, and of course the convention dictates, convention means tradition. We learned that yesterday also. Just type in Keshwani Prep vocab 46 and you will learn the word convention. The convention dictates that we always write the numeric value first, then the constant, and then the variable, 2 pi r. There you go, voila, that's your circumference. Now the question is, how do we figure out the area of a circle? So today we talk about area of the circle. Area of anything has to be has to be measured in unit squared. I'll explain to you in a second why. For example, you may measure the area of something as yards squared, or meters squared, or inches squared, or feet squared. What else do I have here? You get the idea. Or miles squared for that matter. You can talk about the area of some city, area of some town being so many square miles, or area of a rectangle being so many square feet, or square yard, or square inches, or square centimeters, or square meter. But it has to be a squared something. A unit has to be square. The question is, why is that? Because area is a two-dimensional concept. Area is a two-dimensional concept. For example, if we talk about the area of a rectangle, if we talk about the area of the rectangle, and if this happens to be 5 feet and this happens to be 8 feet, how do you find the area of this rectangle? You're going to multiply length times width. So you're going to have 8 feet times 5 feet. Watch what happens. 8 times 5, of course, we know is 40. But then we have feet times feet. Feet times feet. Feet times feet. It's 40 feet times feet, which is 40 feet squared. So mathematician will insist, the pure mathematician will insist that this should be read as 40 feet squared. But again, the convention dictates that we read this as not 40 feet squared, but 40 square feet. Technically and strictly speaking, it should be read as 40 feet squared, 40 inches squared, 40 centimeters squared, but the convention dictates that we say it as 40 square meter as opposed to 40 meters squared. But you get the idea. As you can see, it's squared. The unit has to be squared. That's how you remember what the area of the circle is. Area of the circle is going to be area of the circle will involve the same variable. It will involve the pi, it will involve the r, it will involve the 2, but like this. Area of the circle, I cannot write today, equals pi r squared. Now how are you going to remember that pi r squared belongs to the area of the circle and not the circumference? Because it's got r squared. If something is being squared, if the unit is being squared, it's got to be the area. As we just explained, area is always two-dimensional. Always two-dimensional because you got the length and the width. Do you understand? That's what that is. Area of the circle. And of course, another way you can keep the two formulas separate. The formula for the circumference and the formula for the area of the circle is the fact that we just learned what pi is. Pi is the ratio of circumference to the diameter. And of course there is a simple derivation, because in this derivation, in this formula for the circumference, embedded inside it is the definition of pi. So as long as you understand the definition of pi, you should know what the area, what the circumference is. I'm going to do it one more time if you like. Watch this. I'm going to do it one more time. It only takes 10 seconds to figure out the formula. Very simple, very straightforward. All you have to understand is that pi is the ratio of circumference to diameter. Multiply both sides by d. Multiply both sides by d. Therefore, circumference equals pi times d. And diameter is simply 2 times r. And therefore, it is 2 pi r. Voila. That's your circumference. So remembering the formula for circumference should not be a big deal. It's very simple, very straightforward definition of pi. As long as you understand what pi is, which is a big hurdle. Many a times I have come across people, when they are asked what is pi, they will probably tell you it is 3.14 because they do not understand, they do not comprehend the question. They are not being asked how much is pi. Nobody asked them how much the pi is. Nobody was asking them what is the value of the pi. The question was, what is it? What is the bloody thing? Not how much is it. What is pi? Well, it's the ratio. It has no unit. If it's a ratio of any kind, ratios do not have unit because the units are cancelled out. Because it's a ratio, pi is circumference over the diameter. Whatever the unit is of the circumference, whatever the unit is of the circumference. For example, if the circumference is 20 feet and the diameter is 5 feet, I'm not even sure if that actually works, but you can see the feet will cancel out. Of course it does not work because pi does not equal 4, but you get the idea, you understand? The ratios do not have units. Ratios are just ratios, so that's why they call ratios, they are unit free. So then the question is, where does the unit come from? It comes from the r, 2 pi r. There you go. Let's do a couple of quick examples to apply what we just learned, okay? I need the room, so I need to erase everything. And we're going to do a couple of examples to apply the concept of both the circumference and the area. I need to erase everything, so here we go. Like I said, we'll do a couple of examples, that's it, couple of problems. And as I explained yesterday on the first day, we're going to, on the first few days, I'm basically covering the basic concept of geometry. And after the first few days, after I feel that I've covered the basic concept of geometry, which is going to probably take me a week or so, maybe 10 days, after that we're going to start doing problems after problems of the geometry, the kind of questions that you're likely to encounter on the SAT, GRE and GMAT. The geometry itself is very simple. There is no analytical geometry on any of this exam. Whether you're preparing for the SAT or the GRE or the GMAT, you don't have to worry about analytical geometry, you don't have to worry about sine, cosine, any of that stuff. It's a very basic geometry. You just have to make sure that you understand it and that you know the basic concepts by heart at your fingertips. Tomorrow I plan to cover the concept of surface area. A lot of the times I have found students struggling with the concept. What does it mean, surface area, when you have to calculate it? Then on the next day we'll talk about Pythagorean theorem. And then after that we'll talk about a 3, 4, 5 triangle, which is a special kind of triangle. Then we'll talk about parallel lines. What happens when you have a parallel lines and you're given a line that intersects a parallel line like this and then another line like this, and then they ask you all sorts of questions about different angles. There are many angles here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 angles here, 4 angles here, 4 angles here, 4 angles here, 4 here. There are 20 angles in there, and you have to know which angles equals which angle. And that's what we'll talk about probably on day 5 or 6. And then we'll talk about distance formula. We'll learn how to figure out how to understand distance formula. Again, many a times I have seen students sitting there and trying to memorize the distance formula. There is nothing there to memorize as long as you understand the concept. You must understand the concept. Don't just sit there and try to memorize the bloody thing like a parrot. Understand it, and I'm going to help you understand the concept behind the distance formula. And once you have done that, you will see that you will never have to memorize it. You will never have to remember it. It will just come to you automatically. But when the time comes, we'll learn it. Let's do a couple of examples. Enough of the talk. Let's do a couple of examples dealing with the concept of area of the circle and the circumference of the circle. I need the room again. So here's a rectangle ABCD that is given to us. We are given a circle in here which is a tangent, and of course in the problem they will explain everything. I'm not going to write out the problem. This circle is tangent to the rectangle. Tangent meaning that it touches at one point. Circle is tangent. Circle is tangent to side BC and AD. Question simply is, what is the area of the circle? Very simple, very straightforward question. What is the area of the circle? Well, area of the circle we know is, I left out this part, we are told that A to B is 10 and we are told that A to D is 15. Now the fact that A to D is 15, that information does not help us here. We do not need it. We do not require it. What we have to understand is that if A to B is 10, then half of that must be 5. From here to here must be 5. And that's your radius. That's the radius of the circle. Therefore the area of the circle is, pi r squared. R we know is 5, so it's pi times 5 squared. hence it is 25 pi. 25 pi, that's the area of the circle. Well, how much is the circumference? What about the circumference? Well, circumference is 2 pi r. Very simple, very straightforward. 2 times pi times r. So it is 10 times r. Now notice, neither here nor there we have units. We have no units here because we are not given any units. Had we been given units here, had we been told that this is 10 feet and this is 10 feet, then here we would have to write, 25 pi feet squared, because it would have been 5 feet squared. This would have been 5 feet, and 5 feet squared gives you 25 feet squared. And this would have been just 5 feet, and this would have been 10 times r feet. But in the exam, if there are no units, then you don't have to worry about the units. Let's do one more example. What if they give you something like this? Well, actually, we could have left it the way it was and done that one. Here's your circle. Here's the shaded area. And this is a square. ABCD is a square. Question is, what's the area of the shaded region? What is the area of the shaded region? Now the previous example that I did where I asked you was the area of the circle and was the circumference of the circles. Those questions are going to appear on the exam as easy questions. They are simple, straightforward questions. This question actually, believe it or not, will qualify as a medium question. Why would it qualify as a medium question? And again, this applies everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're taking the GRE or the GMAT or the SAT. The math is very simple in all of the 3 exams. This question will apply as a medium question. Why medium questions? Because it involves 2 steps. In order to figure out the area of the shaded region, we have to first figure out the area of the square. The square is very straightforward. Square is simply 6 by 6. It's 36 units. Oh, so it's not 36 units, it's 36 unit squared. You see, I almost made a mistake. So if this is 6 feet, this is 6 feet, this would have been 6 feet squared. So now we know the area of the square. Now we have to figure out the area of the circle. Well, if this is from here to here is 6, then half the distance must be 3. Therefore, we know that radius is 3 feet. Therefore, for those of you who do not know this symbol, these 3 dots means therefore. Therefore, the area of the circle equals pi r square. R is 3 feet. So it's 9 times pi. 9 times pi times feet squared. You see, this is feet squared and this is feet squared, which is why we can subtract one from the other. If this were just feet and these were feet squared, we couldn't subtract or add because they are 2 different quantities, or 2 different concepts rather. One is 1 dimensional, the other one is 2 dimensional. You cannot subtract 10 feet from 25 feet squared. It doesn't work. 10 feet is 1 dimensional. 25 squared will be 2 dimensional. You cannot subtract a 1 dimensional quantity from a 2 dimensional quantity or vice versa. Do you understand? But here you see it's feet squared, this is feet squared. This is the area of the circle. So what do I do with the area of the circle? In order to figure out the area of the shaded region, we simply have to subtract the area of the circle from the area of the square. And the leftover would be the shaded region. So the shaded region is simply 36 minus 9 pi feet squared. That's it. Voila. That's it. And how much is that approximately? It is approximately, if you're asked how much is it approximately, well, we know pi is about 3.14. So 9 times 3 is about 27. 36 minus 27. Assuming that pi equals 3, which you can do in the exam. Don't make your life complicated. Don't waste your time punching it, doing 3.14, even though you're allowed to use the calculator. Don't waste your time. If you just use pi equal to 3, that's close enough. All the answer choices are so far apart that you shouldn't have too much trouble locating the right answer. So 9 times 3 is 27. 36 minus 27 is 36 minus 26 would have been 10. So 36 minus 27 should be 9. About 9 square feet. That's it. That is your answer. That's it. Tomorrow, as I said, we will learn the concept of surface area. And once we have learned the concept, I'm not going to keep explaining the same concepts over and over again. I will simply refer you to a particular video in the first 5 or 10 or first 5 or 7 or 10 days. I'll tell you exactly where we did the concept, and we'll just we'll just keep solving the problem one after the other. And if you need to brush up on a certain concept, I'll simply say go and watch that video in the beginning of the lessons. Okay. But in the beginning, right now, since we're just starting, I have to first explain all the concepts and then do the problem, which takes more time. I will see you tomorrow on day number 3 for our lesson number 3, obviously. In the meantime, if you wish to get hold of me, just go to any of these website addresses that you see there, and you can send me an email. prepforgre.com, prepforgmat.com, prepforsat.com, and prepfortoefl.com. All of those addresses will take you to my website, which is keshwaniprep.com. Just send me an email as to what you need help in, and I will do whatever I can to help you out in your preparation. Alright? I tutor over the internet via Skype and of course also in person. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.